All right. Good morning. It's restricted. Yes, I've been hearing. Um, all right, guys. Good morning. I see everybody starting to pop in. So I'm here. I'm home. I'm doing the live stream today just to kind of fill you in on how to get the project started. So yeah, I got the face cam working this time. Yeah, I figured I could just put my camera and just show the front, and that way, it looks like you're actually interacting. All right. Okay, so today the plan is just to go over the project a little bit and to kind of get started on it. Let me know if you guys can hear me or if the sound is okay. Um, but I'm just gonna go over the project a little bit. I'm not gonna teach, like, my first lesson will be Friday. So when I live stream on Friday, that'll be the first lesson. So I just want to give you guys like an extra day or so just to kind of get used to this whole system. So feel free to stop me at any point and just go ahead and ask questions through the chat. There's a little bit of a lag, so when you see this, it'll already have been like 20 seconds that I talked about it. Okay, so if you ask something and I don't address it right away, then I'll come back. Okay, so don't worry about that. All right. And then obviously feel free to share with your friends. Let them know, right, that the videos are available. I created one yesterday for period 3, but I wanted to make sure that I answer any particular questions for you guys today. Okay. All right. So let's get started. So let me just kind of walk you through. So at the moment, you guys do not have the project up. So let me just take a minute or two just to get you guys the link. So give me a second. And then you guys can go ahead and find it on Schoology. How you guys doing? Is everybody okay? You guys haven't gotten sick yet? Hey, Catherine. Good morning. All right. Okay, so I guess depending on which period you're in, I'm gonna just go ahead and move over to period 2. So I put the project into the Unit 5 folder, so you'll see it. Oh, I guess I put it in there twice. Well, okay. Let me go ahead and delete one of them then. All right, so you'll see the link there. So when you guys go ahead and click on it, all right, so you'll see the project here. Okay, now since this is my my Google Drive that I linked it to, I have access to edit. When you guys get it, you're not gonna have access to edit the one that's in front of you. So let's just pop it out for a second. All right, so once it's there, you guys won't have this option to change anything. See, like right now, I could go ahead and just start typing in my name. but you guys won't have the option to do that. All right, so in fact, what you guys will need to do is, because you're on view only, you're going to have to go to file and then make a copy. And then when you go to make a copy, go ahead and select the entire presentation. And then when you get here, you can just leave the name as a copy, or you can change this to whatever you want. Make sure that you select a folder that you know you can find it in. So I have a folder that's called Unit 5 Assignments, so I'm going to leave it in there. And then the rest, you don't need to box anything. You can just go ahead and hit OK. Alright, so now that you're on your copy, then you should be able to edit your copy however you need to. Alright, so you don't need to make any additional slides to this project. Basically, the project is it's a template. So you basically just need to fill it in. You need to answer the questions that are in there, and then you would just share it back with me when you're ready to submit it. Okay, so let me just kind of walk you through it. Obviously, fill in your name, your period, the date. Okay, and so as you notice, there's only 7 slides. There's a couple of questions there, so it's not too bad. It was something that is a little bit of an application towards the later end of the unit. Okay, so whatever we did in relation to feasible regions, right, overlapping certain areas of the graph and then finding that feasible region, that's essentially what it is. So it's just an application project. Okay, so it's not too bad. It's definitely not going to be as intense as the first project that you guys had, that I gave first semester. All right, so let's jump into it. Okay, so basically the idea here is that there's this person who's building toy cars and trucks. Okay, to make each car, he needs 4 wheels, 2 seats, and 1 gas tank. Right, so just like a regular, I guess, 2-seat car. To make a truck, he needs 6 wheels, 1 seat, and 3 gas tanks. So I want you to think of these trucks as being work trucks, right? They're not really like passenger trucks. These are more like industrial. Okay, so 6 wheels, 1 seat, 3 gas tanks. His storeroom, basically whatever he has in stock, is 36 wheels. So he has 36 wheels in stock, 14 seats, 15 gas tanks. And he's trying to decide how many cars and trucks to build so that he can make the largest possible amount of money when he sells them. Okay, so you have everything in your stock room, and then you are required to make cars that have, right, your basic requirements, right? You have cars that need 4 wheels, 2 seats, and 1 gas tank, and then you have trucks that if you're going to build one, you need to have at least 6 wheels, 1 seat, and 3 gas tanks. Okay, so the idea here is, first, you want to start out, figure out what his options are. What are all the choices he can make about how many cars and how many trucks he will build? Okay, so that's where we start. So it tells you to make a list of all the possible combinations, and then you would plot the number of possible cars and trucks in the first quadrant of a graph. Okay, so then that's where you go into slide number 2, and this is where you're going to start to fill in these charts on all of the different possibilities on how many cars and how many trucks can I make with the amount of material I have in stock. Okay, so for example, let me copy and paste some of this information to the next slide so that I don't have to keep coming back and forth. Okay. Okay, so for a car, let me just get rid of some of this. For a car, you need 4 wheels, 2 seats, and 1 gas tank. For 1 truck, you need 6 wheels, 1 seat, 3 gas tanks, and then your storeroom, basically your warehouse, right? This is what you have in total. Okay, so now you want to start thinking about, well, okay, how many could I actually make, right? I want to try to see how many trucks or how many cars I can make. Well, start with seeing how many cars you could possibly make, right? Let's start with that. So let's say, for example, you have you have 4 wheels for 1 car, but you have 36 wheels in total. Okay, well then maybe potentially you could do 9 cars. Okay, maybe, right? Let's see. Because if you do 9 cars, well then you get to use all 36 wheels. Okay. But if you do 9 cars, you're going to need 18 seats. Right? And then we already have a problem. Because even though 9 cars allows you, you're allowed to make, technically you could make 9 cars with the amount of wheels you have, but you don't have enough seats to make 9 cars. So then that's not an option, right? So now you got to try something else. Okay. Let's say maybe 8 cars. If you do 8 cars, well then that's only 32 wheels, so you have plenty. But then you get to the same issue, right? If you try to do 8 cars, well now that's 16 seats. And again, problem. Right? Because you don't have enough, right? You only have 14 seats in your stock. Okay, so now, okay, you know 9 cars and 8 cars aren't possible, so now maybe try 7. Okay, with 7 cars, let's see what's possible. It's 4 wheels per car, so that's 28 wheels. And then because it's 2 seats per car, all right, you actually can use, right, all 14 seats, right? So you could. And then now let's see about the gas tanks. You need 1 gas tank per car, so then that leaves you with 7 gas tanks. Okay, so notice how we were able to come up with something here. So now we know 9 and 8 cars is not an option. So I'm going to go ahead and eliminate that. Okay, so I know I could do 7 cars. So let me then go ahead and fill it in over here on the table. I can do 7 cars. Now, because I've done 7 cars, I still have some leftover material. Let me see if I can make any trucks out of that. Okay, well, let's see if I can make at least 1 truck. Well, if I try to make 1 truck, I would need 6 wheels. Limiting factor. Yes, something like that. 6 wheels. You would need 7 seats. I'm sorry, not 7 seats. 1 seat. And then you would need 3 gas tanks. All right. But do you see the problem there is that even by just trying to make 1 truck, I have enough wheels and I have enough gas tanks. But the problem here is that I have 1 and 14. That gives me 15 total seats and I only had 14 in my stock. Okay. So there, that eliminates the option of being able to make anything else because you can't make any more cars. You can't make any more trucks. So that's not an option either. Right. So then if you make all 7 cars, you have 0 trucks that you can make. Okay, you still have leftover material, but it's not enough to make anything. Okay. All right. So now you've done the option with 7 cars. Now try it with 6 cars, right? So you see what I'm going to do is I'm going to go systematically. Like I know that I can make the maximum number of cars, which is 7. That leaves me with Emiliano, the project will be due next Friday. So I believe that's the 27th. I believe it's Friday the 27th. Yes. Okay. All right. So I know that I have 7 cars maximum. Now let me try to go down 1, right? Because if I reduce the number of cars I can make, maybe I can make an additional number of trucks. Okay. And so that's the type of process, the type of thinking that you need to engage in order to be able to fill in as much information as you possibly can. Okay. So let's go ahead here. I'm going to change this now to 6. If I change this to 6 cars, well, now that's only 24 wheels. If I have 6 cars and it's 2 seats per car, now I'm down to 12 seats. And then that's only 6 gas tanks. Okay, so now let's think about how many trucks I can make. Exactly. Right, so now if I do 2, I'm sorry, let me try 1 truck. Okay, then that leaves me with the 6 wheels. I need only 1 seat. And then that's 3 gas tanks. Okay, so that's also an option, right? I could do 6 cars and 1 truck. So then that actually puts me at 30 wheels, which is less than 36. That's 13 seats. I still have 1 seat left over. And then I have 9 gas tanks. And that means I'm left with 6 gas tanks left, right? So I still have some options there, right? So I know that this is another possibility, right? It could be 6 cars and 1 truck, right? Now maybe I can push it one more step. Maybe I can try, if I know I can do 1 truck, maybe I can try to do 2. Okay, let's see if that actually works. So now let's try 2 trucks. If I do 2 trucks, that's 12 wheels. Okay, that's exactly the amount of wheels that I have, right? The 24 and the 12, that's 36. Okay, I know that then that means 2 seats. So 12 seats, 2 seats, that's 14. That's exactly what I have. And then I know that if I did 2 trucks, that would mean 6 gas tanks, right? So that's also good enough. Right, I have 6 and 6, that's 12, that's less than 15. So I have another option that actually works. I could do 6 cars and 2 trucks. Right, and so that's kind of the process, and you try to fill in as much as you possibly can. Do you have to fill in every slot? You have to fill in as much as you can. I don't know if you're going to be able to fill in every slot, right? It's just I have enough tables there for you to be able to play around, but you want to try to get as much information possible. Okay, so even if it means like 1 truck and 1 car, right? Obviously you can make so much more than that, but you want to find all of the different possibilities. Okay, so I've kind of set you on a path here. And so once you've done that, right, once you've filled in everything, okay, the next step is going to be what you see down at the bottom, right? So there's a little bit of instructions down there. You see how it says organize all the possible combinations of cars and trucks that Auto can make. Go to Desmos and graph the ordered pairs. Label the X and Y axis and screenshot the graph. Okay, paste a copy of your graph to the right of the tables. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So let's go to Desmos. All right. Okay, so when you get here, what you're gonna do is you're gonna plot these points, right? So I have 7, 0. So you're gonna do parentheses 7, 0, and you see that the point pops up, right? The next one was 6, 1, and then I could also do 6, 2. Okay. And so the next thing that we're told, right, after we graph those ordered pairs is to label the X and Y axis. And then you want to screenshot the graph. Okay, so obviously you can fit as much information as you possibly can, right? So like I said, if it's 1 car and 1 truck, that's fine, right? That's going to be a point, right? It's a possibility of the things that you can make. Okay, so don't be limited into thinking it's like it's only the maximum. You could always be underneath that, okay? So now, when we go here, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to adjust some of this because you don't want to show the negative y-axis and the negative x-axis. There's no need to show that because you can't have negative cars or negative trucks, right? So what you want to do is label the x and the y-axis, and that's the only part you want to show. So when you go up here, you see the little wrench. You can actually show only a certain part of the x-axis. So for example, here it's showing from negative 10 to 10. So instead I'm going to go from negative 1 to 10 on my x-axis, and then on the y-axis I'm going to go from negative 1 on the y-axis to 10. Okay, and so you see now it's adjusted my graph to only show me basically what's in the first quadrant. Okay, first quadrant. So now what comes next would be to label. All right, you want to label. Now, if you notice, typically on a table like this, X is on the left and then Y is on the right. So then you can go ahead and keep it consistent the same way. You could let your cars be your X value. And then you can let your trucks be the Y axis. Okay, so then you keep it consistent so that it shows the same type of information here on the graph. So now you can also label. You see under the same wrench, you go to X axis. And then for x-axis here, we know that we said this would be cars. Okay, and then for the y-axis, we said this would be trucks. Okay, so you see how as we did that, now I can see my axis here. My x-axis is my cars. My y-axis is the trucks. Okay. All right. So after that, right? Let's say you're gonna have a lot of points filled in right here, right? You're gonna have a lot of different possibilities that is going to fill up the rest of this. So you're going to start to see that there's a little bit of a cluster. There's a cluster of points that's going to be somewhere here in this region. Okay. And after that, once you've filled everything in, then you can screenshot. So depending on whatever system you're on, I'm on a Windows, so my screenshot is a little different, but I can just screenshot exactly what I want. So for example, I can just highlight a certain part. Right, I could just screenshot this part. Okay, and once I have it, I can go back to this part. Now, here I was showing you this. You don't need to show me this this part that I was typing, I was just doing that for the purpose of for you to follow along on the video. But you can delete this, and then this is where you would paste your data. Okay, so the same data that you're going to have here on this table, you're going to show it graphically here. Okay, so pretty simple. Just take your points, plot them, and then paste the graph. Okay. All right. So if that's clear, then I'm going to go ahead and move on. If there are questions about that, I think the common question is, do we need to fill up the whole thing? If you do it right, you're going to fill up most of them. Okay, you're going to fill up most of them. If you feel like you only filled up one table, then that's because you're missing a lot of different possibilities. Okay, so again, it could literally be like one car and two trucks. That's a possibility, right? Obviously, it's not great for making money, right? You're not going to profit a lot from that, but it's an option. Okay, so again, like I said, you're supposed to see a big cluster of points right in this region here. Okay, right around here. All right. So let's move on. So once this is done, then you can then start to answer some of the questions that are on slide number 2. Okay. On slide 2, on your slide, I want you to draw a line. I want you to select a line, and I want you to draw it right in the middle, because basically it sets up two scenarios, and I don't want to confuse you on what you're being asked to do. Okay. So the first scenario is going to be on the left side, and then the second scenario happens on the right side. Okay, so scenario 1 takes place here, right? So first, it's Otto wants to make as much profit as possible. Use your list from the previous slide to find which combination of cars and trucks will make the most profit based on the information below. Okay, so you've already decided. Yes, that would be it for that first slide. Okay, so the idea here is you want to see, well, first of all, how many cars and trucks can I make? And then the second thing is like, well, now how much profit can I make, right? What's the maximum amount of profit I can make if, right? And then here's your condition. Which of Otto's options gives him the greatest profit if he sells $1 on each car and $1 on each truck that he sells? Okay. So now that you have all of your information, right, this is where you can go back to this slide, or you can go back to your graph, and you can try to determine, well, which one of those combinations is going to give me the greatest profit if I can make $1 on the car and $1 on the truck, right? It's not costing you to make $1. It's basically saying you're going to make a profit of $1. Okay. So, it might cost you $3 to make it, but you sell it for $4. So you get $1 profit. That's what that means. Okay. So you want to think of those all of the options, and then you give me the answer here in this box. Okay. How do you know that this option provides the most profit? Well, you're going to have to give me a little bit of an explanation. How do you know, right? Typically, it's pretty easy to tell because you can just see this is the most amount that I can make, right? Everything else is not going to give me as much as this possibility. Okay, so a little bit of a brief description, but don't overthink it too much. Once you've answered the left side, now you move over to the right side. Okay, so I want you to think of this as being, let me actually insert some text. I want you to think of this being as scenario number 2. Okay. I'm going to put this in some red letters and bold it. Okay. So now you have scenario number 2, which is asking a similar question, but now it's told you that the market has changed. And now Otto can make $2 for each truck, right? A $2 profit for each truck. And still keep a $1 profit for the car. Okay, so what is the best choice for the number of cars and the number of trucks to make in this situation? So now it changes a little bit, right? Before it was just like 1 and 1, right? $1 for a truck, $1 for a car. You could see which one probably adds up to be the most. But then you got to think about it a little bit differently now, where you're more profitable if you sell more trucks, right? So maybe it's worth it to make more trucks instead of cars. So you got to look at those options and decide which one would be the best one to give you that most amount of profit. Okay. How can you be sure? Explain, right? It's very similar to the other question, right? How do you know that this option provides the most profit? How can you be sure, right? Well, what are the other options that could potentially give you more, right? If there aren't any, then maybe show, right? Show which are the other options and show mathematically that they don't give you as much profit. Okay. So you're just building on your response. Okay. You're just trying to be a little bit more detailed. All right. So again, you cannot do slide number 2 unless you've finished, you can't do slide 3 until you finish slide 2. Okay. So it goes in order consecutively. All right. Now let's get to slide number 4. Okay, so slide number 3 is pretty simple. Let's go to number 4. Okay, so number 4 can be a little bit tricky. Okay, it's asking you to write 3 inequalities to represent the relationship between the number of cars, the number of trucks for each restriction below. Okay, now the key term here is that it's an inequality for each restriction. Okay, which means you're going to have to utilize something to the extent of less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, right? So let me get you started on what one of them could be. Okay, if we're talking about the wheels, actually not the wheels, let's go with seats. Yesterday I gave the other, no, I'm gonna stick with wheels. Okay, so let's say I wanted to see how many wheels I could possibly make, or actually what my restrictions are for the wheels. I know that in order to make a car, right, just one car, I need 4 wheels. Okay, how do I represent that algebraically? Well, for each car, which is represented by x, there's going to be 4 wheels, right? So 4 times x, that tells me how many wheels I would have for x amount of cars, right? But that's not the only thing, because I'm also making trucks, right? So in addition to that, I have to then add the possibility of the amount of wheels I would need for a truck, right? So since for one truck it's 6 wheels, then that would be 6y. Okay, now that's the expression, right? That's the expression for how many wheels. But because these are limited, I only have so many wheels, I have to limit this. So I cannot have more than a certain amount. So let me try here to insert something. Didn't work for me last time. Let me see if it works today. No luck. Okay, well, anyway, I know that I need to maintain the number of wheels to be less than or equal to, right? Because I could actually hit the exact number. I could exactly hit 36, right? So obviously that looks a little funny, less than or equal to, but that's just because I don't have the math type on the slides. But I know that this amount, it goes back to your initial stock, right? I have to maintain that the amount of wheels I have is only 36. So I can make exactly 36, or I can use less than that, but I can't go over it. So my restriction here is going to be capped at 36. So you could see how then this could translate to an inequality I could create for the seats, right? And then an inequality I can make for the gas tanks, right? Pretty similar, parallel to what type of equation you're going to get here for wheels. All right, obviously different numbers and then different restrictions, but that's how you can create it. Okay, so now let's say that then after you've done that, you've done the equation for the wheels, the seats, and the gas tanks. The next thing would be to use the graph of the system of inequalities. Graph everything, right? So the 3 different equations that you get, you graph them. And then you take a screenshot, you paste it on the right. Okay, so we go back to Desmos. All right. Here, I can then just type in the equation I created for the wheels. We said it was 4x plus 6y was less than or equal to 36. Okay, so do you see that I get an inequality here that is shaded underneath, right? So that's telling me that the amount of wheels I can make, the different combinations, has to be in the shaded area, right? I can't go ahead and make 10 cars, right? Let me just take a point. Let's say 8 cars and 5 trucks. Right? Do you see how this point obviously does not fit inside of the shaded area? That's because it's not a solution, right? It's not a possibility. I can't make 8 cars and 5 trucks because then that's asking for too many wheels than what I have. Okay, so this inequality is now showing you that all of your possibilities should probably have fit within that area. Okay, or at least most of them. All right. So then obviously you're going to have to graph the seats, graph the gas tanks. And then from there, you'll see that there is a feasible region, right? There is a region where everything overlaps, and that's where you are allowed to basically, you have restrictions. You're allowed to build this many cars and this many trucks because they all fit within that feasible region. So they satisfy all 3 requirements: the wheels, the seats, and the gas tanks. Okay? And so that's what your graph is going to show you. So then again, you're going to take a screenshot, and then you're going to paste it right here in this section. Okay? So paste it in here. Okay. Then the question here, this one's pretty simple, right? Why is it okay to assume that x has to be greater than or equal to 0 and that y has to be greater than or equal to 0? Remember that x represents number of cars, right? So it's pretty easy to see why it's supposed to be greater than or equal to 0. And then the same thing for the trucks. Y represents the number of trucks. So again, does it make sense to have negative cars or negative trucks? Right. So then that's why, you have it's an easy question to answer. Okay. All right. So slide number 4, pretty simple now that you kind of have an idea of how to set up these inequalities. Okay. So now number 5. Number 5, number 6, and number 7 cannot be done unless you have number 4 done. Okay. So number 5 is going to ask you to look carefully at certain points on the graph. Okay, now this part is going to be kind of hard for me to help you on because you need the information there already, but I'm going to try to guide you through what you should expect to do. Okay, take a look at this question. What are the vertices of the polygon that outline the region, right? Which region? It's the feasible region, right? We did this similar in class. If they don't come out in the feasible region, do you have to go back and change them? No, you don't have to go back and change them because there are going to be points. For example, do you remember how at the beginning I was saying that I could have possibly, right? I could have had 9 cars because that gives me an amount of wheels, the amount of wheels. So that would have fit right in this graph area, right? I would have been able to do 9 cars. Watch this. See, I could have done 9 cars. Now the problem with that is that might be true for the wheels, but it wasn't true for anything else, right? It wasn't true for how many how many seats, because I didn't have enough seats. So this point, while it might fit on this curve, it won't fit on the next one. Okay, so it'll be outside of that. Okay, so there's going to be certain points that are going to fit within all 3 shaded areas, and those are the ones that you're going to want to keep. You don't have to go back and change them. Okay, it's just because everything that you do on this table should actually fit. Okay, should actually fit. All right, so going back here, what are the vertices on the polygon? We did a problem like that on the notes, the one that I gave out right before we took our test, right? So it was, we did a rectangle, right? We found the vertices, right? And so we found those points where there were intersections and it created the square. Okay, so you basically want to find those corners of the polygon. What are those points? And you just go ahead and type them in. All right. Explain how you could find the exact coordinates of these points if you could not read them easily from the graph. Well, we talked about this as well. Let's say that you didn't have like a really nice graph, right? Let's say that it was a little bit shaky and then it intersected, but it wasn't on a lattice point, right? So for example, let's say you get an intersection and it's like not on a perfect little intersection here. Okay. Well, there's other ways in which you can find where graphs intersect, right? We learned about these. There's 2 methods. Well, 3 methods, right? There's graphing, but let's say the graphing doesn't help you. What are the other 2 methods that you could do to help you find out where these lines are intersecting? Okay, and so then answer the question appropriately. Okay, plot these points on your graph in Desmos and take a screenshot. Okay, the points that they're talking about are the lattice, or the vertices. Okay, so the vertices are the ones that they're talking about here for plot those points on your graph. Okay, so once you know what they are, you would go back here, type them in, yada yada. Okay. All right. So now number 6. Okay. Are there any points in the solution region? Okay, solution region, same thing as feasible region, that represent choices that seem more likely to give Otto the maximum profit. Okay, so you're going to see points all over your region. Obviously, some of them are going to be obvious solutions, but some of them are not going to be solutions you want if you want to maximize profit, right? If you want to maximize profit, are you going to sell 1 truck and 1 car and have all this leftover material? Probably not, right? So you want to go ahead and think of like, what are the options that are in that region that are going to give me the most amount of money, right? Now, the profit that we're talking about, okay, initially, you want to think of this profit as being the $1 for the truck. I'm sorry, the $1 for the car and $2 for the truck. Okay. All right. Why do you think they show the best choices? Where are they? Okay. So Pretty straightforward, but again, you won't know where it is unless you have everything graphed. Okay, write an equation. The second one is write an equation that represents Otto's total profit if he makes $1 on each car and $2 on each truck. Okay, so let's say I want to make an equation for profit. Okay, so let me go down here. Okay, if I want to know how much profit I'm going to gain from something, okay, now that's an unknown thing. I don't know the profit from when I start. So profit is currently unknown, so I need to leave it as a variable, so P for profit. Now, where does my profit come from? Well, my profit is going to equal whatever I can make for my car and then whatever I can make for my truck, right? So if I'm talking about the car only, right, that's my X variable. Well, how much money do I get for that one car? Well, it's only $1, right? So it's 1X. But on top of what I can make for the car, I can also make money from the trucks, right? So then in addition to what I can make from the cars, I can make something from my truck. So then that's where I sum these two values together. What am I going to add? Well, because we're talking about trucks, it's not $1 per truck, it's $2 per truck. So it's 2. Okay. Now, I'm helping you out with this because this could have been a difficult thing to create on your own, all right? But you have it now, right? You have it. So then now you can utilize this for box number 2, and then it helps you answer box number 3. What if Otto ended up with a profit of only $8? Okay, well now if you know what your profit is, right, you know that your profit is 8, show and explain how to use the graph of the profit equation when P equals 8 to figure out how many cars and trucks he made. Okay, so on something like this, now you have something that you can go back and you can graph, right? Assuming that the profit is $8, right? What if you did a substitution here? You plugged in 8 for P, okay? And then you went and you graphed that on Desmos. Like, what would that show you? Okay, so you can use that to then figure out how many cars and trucks he can make to hit exactly $8 profit. All right, so this part, even though it doesn't say down here, you're gonna need to go back, graph on Desmos. Okay, find the points that determine what the maximum amount of cars or trucks can be made to get an $8 profit. Okay, so that's an additional set of instructions there that wasn't really shown on the first set of slides. Okay, so now you have that, right? And now you can graph it again, screenshot and show, okay, on the right, or screenshot and paste. Okay. All right, so that's pretty much it for number 6. And then finally for number 7. Okay, what points do you need to test in the profit equation to get the maximum profit? Is it necessary to try all points? Why or why not? Okay, well, clearly that one becomes kind of straightforward, right? Do you need to test all the points? No, just a few, right? Just a few. Okay, and then it changes. What if Otto got greedy and wanted to make a profit of $14? Okay, how can you use a profit line to show Otto that this could be impossible based on his current pricing? Okay, well, his current pricing at the moment, in this case, it's talking about $1 for car and $2 for trucks, right? So very similar to the type of equation that you can make right here, right? But now instead of having $8 profit, it's 14, right? So that changes your equation a little bit. Then what happens if you graph that new equation, right? The equation where you have a $14 profit, right? Can you graph that, right? Can you see what it shows you, right? Is it going to be possible for him to be able to make a $14 profit if he sells cars for $1 and trucks for $2? Maybe it's not possible, right? So you need the graph. You need to go on Desmos. You need to graph it to see if it is possible, okay? And then finally, the last part, right? Find Otto's highest possible profit if now he changes his pricing system, right? What if now, instead of selling $1 for a car and $2 for a truck, he chooses to sell his cars for $3 and the trucks stay at $2, right? Find the profit expression. Okay, so profit expression, very similar to the profit equation. Okay, now obviously when it's a profit expression, you're not going to be setting a profit. You're just going to use part of it. The expression does not include the equal sign. Okay, so that would be an expression. Obviously, it wouldn't be the same as this one because now he's changed the price for his car. Okay, so you would change the coefficient for X. Find the profit expression and find the best combinations of cars and trucks to maximize the profit. Okay, so again, here, this is where you would want to try to do a couple of different scenarios, right? Which combination is going to get me up to the maximum amount of profit now with this new pricing system. Okay, and so that's basically it. Okay, so that's it. That ends right there. And so you essentially get scored on each one of the questions. Okay, so if there's something missing, then you could get marked a little bit down for that. But basically, if you can answer the question as completely as possible, you can show the information, you can show the data, you can show the graphs, right? Another open space right here, clearly, because I want to see some sort of graph, some sort of screenshot for what you did in these problems here. Okay. All right. So what you can do, because it won't be due until next Friday, if you start working on it and you want to get some feedback, right? You can share this with me, but don't just share it and ask me for feedback, because then I don't know what I'm looking for. Like, be very specific about what it is, what particular question you're not quite understanding, so that then I can go back and try to help you. You should be able to do slide 2, slide 3, and slide 4 on your own. Okay, you should be able to do those 3. I understand if you get stuck a little bit on 5, 6, and 7, right? I can help you out a little bit more there. But if you ask for feedback, make sure that you have 2, 3, and 4 finished. If, for example, you're stuck on a certain question, right? Let's say it's this one, right? Then I need you to do something for me. I need you to highlight this one and then make a comment. You can add a comment to your own slide, so that then when you share it with me, I can see which question you need me to help you with, and then I can answer that comment. So for example, I can make a comment here and say, I set my equation, right? I set the equation equal to 8, but I don't know how to use the graph, whatever, right? I don't know. So you give me a little bit of feedback in terms of things that you want me to check. You hit comment, and then when you share that with me to my email, then you can go ahead and I can answer that directly, right? Rather than looking through the whole project, and then, it's a lot of projects that I have to look through. So just try to be a little bit more aware of that. The grade of the projects are like 15% of your grade. So this might be the one and only project for the semester, just like last semester. I don't know. I might do something else, but we'll see how things go. But for now, this would be it. Okay, so due next Friday, not this Friday, not for this week, but next week on Friday, by the end of the day, midnight. Okay. No rush in terms of like getting it in first thing in the morning on Friday. Just finish it up, and then when you're done, you're gonna want to hit share. And then you want to use my email. Okay, so noel.somozajr@lausd.net. Okay, and then you can share it with me. All right, so that's pretty much it. Are there any other questions? So remember, this video will stay here. It'll stay on YouTube. So if like, okay, it makes sense now, and then you come back to it in a couple days and you're like, oh wait, I forgot what he was asking, then you can just go ahead and rewatch the video on certain parts to answer the questions you need. Okay, so if we have a question for 2, 3, and 4, you're not gonna reply at all, or just be like and still answer? No, I'll help, but I think it's doable. Okay, it's doable to do number 2, 3, and 4 on your own. Okay, especially the part where you fill in the table, you graph that should be pretty straightforward. Once you have everything plotted, you'll see, right, which scenarios on each scenario, you'll see which one is going to be the best one. For number 4, if you can follow the way that I built this equation, or this inequality for wheels, it's very similar for seats and gas tanks. Okay, but basically, if you get stuck on 5, 6, or 7, but you have empty parts in 2, 3, or 4, then I'm going to be like, well, you got to finish 2, 3, and 4 first. Does that make sense? but no, I mean, if you have questions, please let me know. Out of how many points? Okay, so this would be 4 for the table, complete tables, 4 for the screenshot. This page would be 16 points. This one would be 1, 2, 3, 4 times 16. So I already gave you a freebie, actually. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. I don't know. But I can't give you a. Let me see. Okay, fine. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40, 41, 42, 48 plus 12, 60. Okay, so it'll be out of 60 points. Okay. So approximately. All right. So I'll hang out for like another minute or two. I know there is definitely a 20-second delay. So you can chat your questions in. I'll stick around. Otherwise, you can kind of jump start the project now. Now that it's fresh. And then for Friday, I'll be live streaming at 10:30 around the same time, and I'll be doing the first lesson for Unit 6. Okay, so it's pretty easy. I'll upload the notes that I'm taking it from. I'll upload the foldable. So if you have a printer and you want to print out the sheets, that's great. Made his life harder. So if you want to print it out and follow along, that's great. If you don't have a printer, that's fine. Just copy the question down on a notebook, and then we'll go from there. Okay. All right. Period 4. I'm gonna grade your test today. Okay. It's been weird working from home. Like, I still don't have time to do anything because I'm like still doing other things. So I'll have it done. What about notes and homeworks? So notes, none of that in the meantime. No, yes, definitely notes. So you'll see it. Homeworks, yeah, I'll upload something. So you'll see it on Schoology. So I'll upload it, part of Unit 6. Not like some of you do the homework anyway, so I don't know why you're all worried about it. Plus, I'm not gonna check it until we get back. Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna log off then. If there's no further questions, feel free to email me or message me on Schoology. If you get locked out of your account, like I said, my Instagram handle is Samoza Math. Right, so just one word, Samoza Math. You can message me through there and ask me to reset your password, or I could get you your PIN at least. Okay. But other than that, just have a good day. Try to stay, relaxed. Make sure that you're keeping on top of everything. But make sure you take a break for yourself. Take a walk. Do something to get your mind off of whatever's going on. Okay, so there's a lot of news out there. There's a lot of what ifs. Okay, so make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And gave me the idea. Okay, I've already been thinking about it for the past like 4 days. Okay. All right. Well, I'll see you guys later then. I'm gonna log off. I'm gonna end the stream. So again, refer back to the video if anything. I'll let your friends know that it's up and it's available. I'll make a post on Schoology right now in about 5 minutes, so you'll have it accessible to you. Okay. All right, guys. Catch you later. Have a good one.